All right, Yevamos, Daf Recaps. Where do we stand? So we are still plugging through Yevamos. We're talking through a case right now where a shomeres yavam, so a man is preparing to do yibum for a woman, and as this happens, she passes away. The woman passes away. So the question is, can the man now go and marry her mother? Okay. The question is, if he had married this woman, then her mother is usher forever. That's an erva. You can't be with your mother-in-law. Because if you never married this woman, then you are allowed to be with your mother-in-law because you're never connected. So on yesterday's daf, we discussed Rav Huna's din, who says that there's ein zika. There's never a connection between this guy, the shomeres yavam, because they never did yibum. So therefore, he can be with his mother-in-law, his almost mother-in-law. And today's daf, we're going to talk about Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, who says that shomeres yavam is asur. You can't go with the mother-in-law because even though they didn't actually do yibum, this concept of zika is as if they did yibum, and so strong that it's as if they were married as well, and so he cannot then go ahead and marry his almost mother-in-law. So that's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, and that's what we're going to pretty much challenge in today's daf. So we bring two examples on reasons why we would think that there is ein zika. Right? The first example is from our Mishnah, which pretty much says that if a man does mamar, then I think the case is asaba mamar v'meis. So before doing full-fledged yibum, if a man does mamar, which is like an act of yibum, which is an act of kiddushin, and then passes away, then the Mishnah says that the shnia, the next brother, can do chalitza or yibum. So that seems to imply that if he didn't do mamar, then the second brother basically is eligible. It doesn't even need to do yibum. And we can imply from that, or we try to imply from that, and say that maybe this teaches us that if you don't do that, if not for mamar, then I think I said that already, but if not for mamar, then I would think that they could just do yibum. You could just marry her normally, which seems to imply ein zika. So no, we reject that. We say, for whatever reason, you still can't do yibum, even in that case of where there's no mamar, you still can't do yibum because of this concept of zika. Okay, then we have another challenge, which comes from Abaye, who brings up a brisa. What's the case here? Eish is ach shelo ba'alei olamo, says the brisa. So Shimon's wife, or Levi can do yibum and chalitza on Shimon's wife. What's the case? Reuven, Shimon, Levi. Right, we're going to talk a lot about this on tomorrow's stuff, but like Reuven passes away, Levi is born, Shimon does yibum or on Reuven's wife, and then Shimon passes away. That's the idea here. So we know, at least according to the brisa here, Shimon's wife is able to do yibum chalitza with Levi. So what's the case here? Why should Shimon's wife need to do yibum and chalitza? Right? She should be disqualified because she's the co-wife of Reuven's, and which is an eshet ashel bel yalamo. So that seems to be a proof that there's no zika bond here. Because if there was zika, then she should be asur. So we answer that whole brisa goes according to Reb Meir, who's someone who holds ein zika, but not according to Rabbi Yehuda, who holds yesh zika. Bottom line is, we don't successfully refute Rabbi Yehuda, and so his opinion stands. Then we move on to the question of, we know Rabbi Yehuda, well, he was known for both learning under Rav and learning under Shmuel. Sometimes we hear Amar Rabbi Yehuda Rav, sometimes we hear Amar Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel, so we want to know which of these great Rabbanim of Rabbi Yehuda did he learn this idea from. So we bring it down, we're able to connect it to a teaching that we heard from Shmuel, which is a shomeres yavam shekidesh achav v'zachosa. Right? Let's say there's a woman who's eligible for yibum, and there are two brothers who could potentially do it. So one of the brothers says, okay, I'll do yibum. And while he does so, the second brother says, okay, so I'm going to marry this girl, someone else. So they do kiddushin. So the din is, he can't do kiddushin. The second brother cannot get married until the first brother does yibum. So that seems to be proof that there is some sort of zika, because if you think about it, the second brother is also eligible to marry the this woman. So he's still somewhat like wrapped up, and he can't get married until Yibum happens, and that breaks that. So that's what we connected to, and we say that it's Rabbi Yehuda who says it in the name of Shmuel, his Rebbe. Okay, then we bring up another Mishnah, and I'm not going to drill into this too much because tomorrow's daf, the entire thing is going to be talking about this. But basically, there's two scenarios, okay? There's Reuven passes away, okay? Shimon is his brother at the time, and Levi is not yet born. So in scenario number one, Reuven dies. Then Levi is born. Then Shimon does Yibum. It's important that Levi was born first, but Shimon does Yibum on Reuven's wife. Okay, and then Shimon dies childless. So now there are these two women. Reuven's ex-wife, Shimon's ex-wife, because I didn't mention this, but Shimon was also married when he did Yibum, so he had two wives at one point. And now Levi is born. So the Mishnah says that Levi is is patur from Yibum from both women. Why? Shimon's wife, because I'll start from Reuven's wife. Reuven's wife, because it's an Eishes Ach Shelo Ba'al Olamo, because Reuven and Levi were never alive at the same time. And Shimon's wife is patur from Yibum because the co-wife of an Eishes Ach Shelo Ba'al Olamo is also Aser. So in this case, Shimon's wife was a co-wife of Reuven's wife, who was Aser to Levi. In the second scenario, Levi was born after, like, Reuven dies, Shimon does Yibum, then Levi was born, and then Shimon dies. So according to the second scenario as well, the Mishnah says in both cases, Levi is patur from Yibum on both wives. Okay, but then Rabbi Shimon comes in and he says Levi can do Yibum or Chalitza, whichever one he wants in the second case. Why does Rabbi Shimon say he can do Yibum Chalitza? So this is pretty much the entire, or most of tomorrow's daf. We're going to be analyzing Rabbi Shimon's opinion, and we have two main players here, Rav Oshia, and we have Rav Papa. And I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's going to get pretty heated. So stay tuned for tomorrow's daf, and have a great day.